Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ. Hello, welcome to another Memo Pod with me, your host, Peter Heck. A couple things that I've got to lead off with, just so that you are all on the same page with me. A couple things you need to know. My family leaves on Tuesday of next week. And we are gone from July 2nd through the 13th, which is the following Saturday. So we're going to be gone almost 2 weeks. This is, I think it's like a rite of passage for American families that decide, hey, let's blow all our money and be miserable. We're taking a Western state road trip. Okay, and the way we're doing it, I don't think I've mentioned this before. We're flying in on Tuesday. We're flying all the way out to Vegas. And that's where we're renting the car, and then heading up through California, and then around through the northern part of Nevada, Utah, what else is up there? South Dakota. I don't think we go into Montana. South Dakota, and then down through Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, and then back to Indiana. So kind of a little loop, like a half loop there. So we got a number of things planned, a number of things to go see. We'll see how it all plays out. But the reason I'm telling you this is, number one, I'll have stories when I get back. Number two, hopefully memories too, but stories. Number two, I don't know what's going to happen as far as the memo pod. I could guess that you're going to be without a memo pod for those couple weeks. Now, in place of it, I will write something. So it's like you'll have additional memos. And I don't know, I may include a video clip or something like that from the trip. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I'm just letting you know to be on the lookout because things will be a little bit different for the next 2 weeks as far as that's concerned. But I still intend, obviously, on writing the memo and the Bible teaching clip and all of that remaining the same. It's the memo pod that may be a little bit different. Okay, so just letting you know that's what's coming up. Second thing I need to tell you, for those of you who are listening or watching, hello. I am recording this the day of the debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Okay? So Thursday, it's actually Thursday evening right now, but it is before the debate. So consequently, some of you may be tuning into the memo pod. Oh, let's see what he has to say about the way the debate went last night. I can't tell you. I can tell you maybe in the memo on Monday, depending on how memorable the debate was and if it stirs me to any kind of response. Although honestly, there's so many more important things in the world than two octogenarians debating the future of a country that they won't have to live in. Not that I'm bitter about our choices or anything, but I'm just letting you know that I can't comment on it right now. I can kind of predict what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a, how can I put this delicately, a fecal show. From the beginning to the end. CNN has installed these microphones that are meant to, cut people off so you can't hear them. And they've demonstrated how you can only hear the people in the background. There's no studio audience. Everything is geared towards helping a man with dementia not get easily distracted and confused and forget where he was or have an accident. That kind of thing. It's totally tipping the game board, but you knew that was going to happen. But my point is, it's not going to matter. It wouldn't surprise me if Trump just walked over to Joe Biden's microphone and started using that. I fully anticipate a fecal show. I anticipate, and by the time you see this, you'll know whether I was right if you watch the debate. I fully anticipate Joe Biden doing his best to remember to call Donald Trump a convicted felon as many times as possible. as many times as possible. I imagine that Donald Trump will have been told, let Joe Biden talk, because Joe Biden will make a fool of himself when he talks. But Trump won't be able to do that. Trump can't stop talking. So he will, that'll be the way that goes. He will attack CNN and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. And it's just, it's going to be maybe entertaining, but it's going to be a fecal show. There's no question about it. I do think there is an off chance. And this is, if I had to make the, you know how like when the NCAA tournament rolls around and there's if you had to pick one sleeper, one Cinderella story to win it all, who would be that one that nobody's talking about that you would take a flyer on and say, there is an extremely small, but there is a chance this one could happen? If I had to say one outlandish thing that could result from this debate, how about this? Joe Biden ends up dropping out of the campaign because of what happens in this debate. I mean, it's possible. I think it's an outside chance, but I think it's becoming increasingly obvious how protected and how delicate the Biden thing is. And I could see the Democrats wanting to move on from him and putting him in a position where he's going to, it's going to be exposed how bad of shape he's actually in. And if Joe Biden were to have some sort of Alzheimer moment, if he would have some sort of dementia moment, if he would wander off the stage or get confused or start rambling and appear like he's having a stroke, something like that, it's within the realm of possibility that something like that could happen. So, I don't expect that to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if something like that did occur. So we'll see. We'll see how it all unfolds. I'll see it with you, or, we'll both read about it later. What I can tell you is that, let's say Joe Biden is out of the race, who did the Democrats go with? I mean, I'll tell you who they don't go with. The person that it's a liability she's even on the ticket to begin with. Have you seen the Trump campaign ad that is out right now? I guess they just released it maybe today, right before the debate, because it mentioned, I'm just going to roll this for you. The name of the ad is Who's Laughing Now? So you know exactly where this is going. Let's go ahead and roll it.
When you think about the Joe Biden you saw in the debate, ask yourself a question. Do you think the guy who was defeated by the stairs, got taken down by his bike, lost a fight with his jacket, and regularly gets lost, makes it 4 more years in the White House? And you know who's waiting behind him, right? Vote Joe Biden today, hit Kamala Harris tomorrow.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Such a liability to the Biden campaign. How is it possible to be on the same ticket as a dementia patient and you be the one, everybody wants the dementia patient to stay in office? But somehow the Democrats have managed to do that to themselves. So we'll see how it all plays out tonight. It's going to be entertaining if nothing else, and also a little sad that this is the state that we are in. Here's something that actually is sad, and it is a result of poor leadership. I would expect that this will come up in the debate tonight as well. Just like Joe Biden will constantly reference Donald Trump being a convicted felon, if he can remember to do so, I would expect that Donald Trump will hammer away on the border issues. The Laken Riley situation. Killed by an illegal immigrant that was out walking the streets because of the Joe Biden enforced release policies. And now it's not just that. This story, it's pretty terrible. I'm just going to read to you. Jocelyn Ngare Nungare. I'm not exactly sure how to say her last name. 12-year-old girl. 12-year-old girl who was attacked by 2 illegal immigrants in the country, came across the border. Here's the latest information. Prosecutors say 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare fought to survive until her last breath. They say she left bite and scratch marks on one of the illegal immigrants. 21-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez still had bite marks on his body when he was arrested. Rangel Martinez is accused of raping Jocelyn for 2 hours before tossing her into a bayou. 21 years old, and he rapes a 12-year-old girl for 2 hours. Again, should not have ever been in the country. Shouldn't have ever been in the country. Franklin Jose Pina Ramos, the other illegal immigrant, says he told Rangel Martinez to stop, but he refused and said he had to finish what he started. To make matters worse, Rangel Martinez himself is a father of 2. He admitted to tying her up. They kidnap a 12-year-old girl, and one of them rapes her for 2 hours, and they throw her body into a bayou. This is, both of the illegal immigrants were from Venezuela. Franklin Jose Pina Ramos, the one that didn't do the raping, is 26. Johan Jose Rangel Martinez is 21. But both of them were charged with capital murder. So this is obviously a tragic situation. Crime is a tragic situation whenever it happens. But one of the things that you always do is you look at ways to make crime less possible. Let's take the gun control issue. After every mass shooting event that takes place, what does the left rally around? The left rallies around stricter gun control measures. Now, the right will say that's not going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. I tend to agree with the right on that. But the left argues for gun control policies, and why? Because it's their argument that if there are less guns available, then there is a smaller likelihood that gun violence is going to take place. So the ultimate objective is to reduce the possibility of a crime like this being committed. Okay, I understand that people have different views on the Second Amendment, okay? And I happen to agree largely with the concept that an unarmed citizenry is not going to get you where you want to be. In fact, it's going to create more problems. But I can sympathize and at least understand the logic behind, well, we need to reduce the number of weapons that are out there that people can get their hands on. Do I think it's naive? Of course I do. Do I think it's even conceivable or possible that you're going to deprive criminals of those kinds of weapons? Very, very, very slim chance that that happens. But the logic behind the argument is built around, we want to make violent gun crime less possible. Okay. Why would we not then take the same approach? I'm speaking to progressives. Why would you not take the same approach with regard to illegal immigration? Do all illegal immigrants commit crimes? No. Just like, let's say, all guns that are bought and sold are not used in the commission of a crime. Okay? But your argument is we need to greatly restrict and limit the buying, the purchasing, the exchange of guns in order to limit the possibility that those guns would be used in the crime. And the argument is we need to limit the amount of undocumented illegal immigrants who come into the country. We need to stop the catch and release plans and programs of the immigration and customs enforcement, all of those people, all of those agencies. We need to stop that kind of conduct and behavior and those kind of policies so that people like Johan Jose Rangel Martinez are not out on the street. They aren't anywhere around 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare. People like Franklin Jose Pina Ramos, that they are, at best, arrested, held in prison, and deported. At worst, simply not let into the country. That is a humane idea. That is a humane position to take. I find it to be extraordinarily inhumane to continue an open door policy or a southern border that is a sieve where you have continued instances of violent crime being perpetrated by individuals who should not be in the country. That isn't a racial thing. It isn't a racist thing. It's a national security thing. The judge in the area of this crime that was committed, her name is Lina Hidalgo. Lina Hidalgo was asked during a press conference if her lax enforcement of laws was actually an attraction for criminal illegal aliens into her county. She serves as the Harris County's governing body, the head of their governing body, this judge, Lina Hidalgo, where this crime was committed. And so the press is asking her, okay, if you were to take a tougher position on criminal activity, if you weren't so lax, if you were about the business of rounding up those and keeping track of those and removing those who are here illegally and who are breaking the law, isn't it fair to say this kind of thing wouldn't happen? I want to play for you her answer. Here's what she had to say about that.
Well, I imagine you're talking about the horrible tragedy with Jacqueline, and just all the facts about it are almost unimaginable. So, of course, I want to acknowledge the family and her memory. And the issue of immigrants, I mean, Harris County is a county that is growing, that has a lot of opportunities. You know, most people say we're not from Houston, a lot of us, but we got here because of opportunities, and that was the case for my family as well. So I wouldn't say Harris County is sanctuary or not a sanctuary. The areas that are economic powerhouses are where people are going to want to go. Now, would these guys have been here where there are different immigration policies? Well, there was an opportunity to have them. President Biden worked with Leader McConnell on policies that specifically would have kept these guys out. And then former President Trump decided he didn't like them, and there was an inexplicable flip-flop from Senator McConnell, Leader McConnell, and the rest of the caucus. So that's on offer from President Biden, to have a system whereby these immigrants will not be released if they have not shown and been through the actual process of being admitted legally. Now, the issue, I think, that we need to recognize as well is the issue of violence against women. That's something very real in our community. There's a lot of tragedy and violence against women, and of course we need to make sure we go after anybody who commits these evil crimes, whether they're immigrants or whether they're not immigrants. But if we want no immigrants, my idea for these Republican leaders is make it a crime to hire any immigrant for anything. That's, you know, if you really don't want any immigrants because you think they're all criminals, do that. No one's going to do it, because whether it be domestic workers that take care for the sick or the elderly, whether it be the folks that cut the grass, the folks that work in construction, anything you can think of, this county, this country would not function without immigrants. So,
okay, a couple things about that response. First of all, it's a false claim to say that the Biden immigration bill that he supposedly came to an agreement with Leader McConnell over, that bill would have stopped catch and release. It would not have stopped catch and release. That was not part of the bill, and it was not part that was going to be enforced in that bill. Also, did you notice the problem is not illegal immigration, according to Ms. Hidalgo. The problem is violence against women. Okay. Anytime a violent crime is perpetrated against a woman, you can say, well, the problem here is violence against women. Right. Yes, a woman was a victim of a crime. So how do we go about reducing the possibility of crimes being committed against women? Well, in this case, would it not be tougher enforcement of immigration law? That would have removed the two perpetrators, Mr. Martinez and Mr. Ramos, from even being anywhere in the vicinity of this 12-year-old girl. Does it remove the possibility of any violence against women? No. Was there a chance that Ms. young 12-year-old Nungare, that Jocelyn was going to be the victim of someone else's crime? It's possible. But you are reducing the likelihood of a crime like that taking place. This isn't hard. I'm trying to use profound logic or really detailed logic when it's not even necessary. We all understand this to be the case, and I believe that Ms. Hidalgo even understands this to be the case. But she claims I answered the question. She didn't answer the question. Let's go ahead and play out the rest of this conversation.
my heart goes out to this family, and it really, to me, it hurts even more that they're being used as pawns in this fight over immigration that doesn't even exist because Biden and McConnell agree. It's just that Trump won't let them move it forward.
Okay, the key question here, aren't you politicizing this, Ms. Hidalgo? You don't want it politicized, meaning you don't want to be called on your lax enforcement policies. You believe that being called to an account for a job that you are not doing, or that you are doing extremely poorly for political reasons or whatever the reasons may be, you think that's politicizing this death. It's not politicizing it to say the death should have never happened. It was easily preventable, but you didn't do your job. And you're saying, well, we don't want to politicize it. No, you don't want accountability. And as a political official, you deem any accountability being brought by the people, you deem that as politicizing it. That's not what it is. It's holding you accountable to do your job, which is what your boss is supposed to do. And in this case, your boss are the people of Harris County. But isn't it interesting? Don't politicize this. Nobody's politicizing it. They're holding you to account. But who is politicizing it is you. You're blaming an ex-president. At this point in time, a normal citizen of the United States, wielding no power whatsoever except influential power, powers of persuasion that any individual has, no legislative, no executive power whatsoever. You're blaming him for the crime, but saying, well, we can't politicize this. So she's called on it, and you saw her answer.
All due respect, Judge, you said this issue shouldn't be politicized, but by pointing the finger at former President Trump and Republicans in Congress, aren't you politicizing?
I think I answered the question. So, yeah, I mean, this is about Jocelyn. This is about her family, and if we want to, as I said, talk about immigration, then
answer the question. Are you politicizing this by pointing the finger at Republicans and saying it's their fault, not the fault of the Biden administration that lifted the remaining Mexico policies?
Again, the Biden administration reached an agreement with Leader McConnell to address this, but this is not about immigration. I'm not going to feed into that. And then I want to keep the focus on Jocelyn, on her family, and if anything, on the violence against women that continues to take place.
Astounding. It's astounding. It absolutely 100% is about immigration. It 100% is about immigration. And it's an insult to this young girl who died unnecessarily to suggest that it's not. Do I understand that Miss Hidalgo maybe feels some sort of guilt? Yeah, I get that, and she should. I don't want her to continue to struggle with it for the rest of her life, but it should be a wake-up call. It should be a wake-up call to everybody, and yet these stories continue to happen. I just saw another one out of Massachusetts that a convicted rapist, illegal immigrant, is out on $500 bond. Why? And because of Massachusetts' progressive policies, the government isn't permitted to track his whereabouts. None of it makes sense. It's not compassion. And I hear a lot of progressive Christians talk about, well, our stance on immigration, we need to welcome the foreigner, that's what Jesus would do. And it's talking about all of these, it's twisting, and it's talking about all of this need for compassion. Compassion is good. But it is not compassionate to the people of this country when you are allowing criminal aliens into the country, out of prison, onto the streets, to wreak havoc and take the lives, or the innocence, or both, of 12-year-old girls. That's not compassion in any sense of the word. And that anybody can pretend to be confused or, this nuanced about that is flatly absurd. Your thoughts welcome. Peter at peterheck.com. That's Peter at peterheck.com. I'm all for compassion. We need more compassion. And I'm not seeing any from Miss Hidalgo for the family, and the potential that there will be more families that have to suffer the same thing needlessly. When you have the ability to prevent crime, when you have the ability to at least limit the possibility of that crime, and statistically, we know that would be the case with the simple enforcement of immigration laws that are already on the books. You don't even have to write new ones. Failure to do so is not an act of compassion, generosity, patience, forbearance, none of that stuff. It's short-sighted and wrong. All right, so this is where I got to leave those of you that have the free subscription. Coming up in the second half of the MemoPod today, I have, if you haven't seen Chloe Cole, a detransitioner, somebody who had been lied to by medical professionals, and it's a lot like the Nazi experiments that they would run, medical experiments and things like that they would run on Jews in concentration camps and their prisoners. The stuff that we're doing to kids. Astounding to hear her testimony. I want you to hear bits and pieces of that testimony that she gave to Congress about the lies that are being told by adults to kids for the sole purposes of advancing a political agenda. And it's maiming and stripping everything from young people. So I got that. And then, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Doctor Who. I've never watched Doctor Who. But apparently the star of that show, David Tennant is his name. You will not believe. How about this? How about I set it up this way? In what circumstance would it ever be okay, or even applauded, for a white man to publicly tell a black woman to shut up and say that it would be better if she didn't even exist? That's the challenge for all of you who are paid subscribers. Well, it's a challenge for all of you, but only the paid subscribers are going to hear the answer. In what circumstance would it ever be socially acceptable, culturally permissible, and applauded for a white man to tell a black woman to shut up and to say that everything would be better if that black woman didn't exist. Because that's exactly what this white man, the star of Doctor Who, said about a black woman and got applause for it. How in the world is that possible? Well, I'll tell you if you're a paid subscriber right after the break. I will say for those of you who are free subscribers, better time? I don't think so. There's not a better time to give us a shot. Give us a shot. Just you can do the $10 a month or the $100 a year and just get it all out at once. It'll be worth your investment, especially as we head into the election season. It's going to be a rip-roaring good time. I've got plenty to say and plenty to hear from you on, and you're going to need this community. So now would be a great time to sign up for it. But if you don't want to, that's fine. We'll keep you informed as best we can. But for paid subscribers, hang with me, because you've got to find out the way, especially if you're a white male. In what circumstance can I ever tell publicly a black woman from a stage to shut up, and it would be better if she didn't even exist? I've got that answer for all of you who are paid right after this break. Free subscribers, see you next week.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonigal's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, the Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.